Okay, so this is the Daf for April 29th, 2025. We are in Makkot 21. We're a couple days away from finishing this. Let's see here. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Yoshi derives that halacha from a different source, as Rabbi Yoshi holds that an incision over the dead and a laceration over the dead are one transgression. And it is written there, with regard to laceration, you shall neither lacerate yourselves nor place a bald spot between your eyes for the dead. Deuteronomy 14:1, indicating that one is liable for cutting oneself in mourning only over a dead person. Therefore, he can derive from the term for the soul that one is liable for each and every soul over whom he cut the incision. On a related note, the Gemara cites that which Shmuel says, one who cuts or misaret his flesh with a utensil in mourning over the dead is liable. The Gemara raised an objection from a Braita. An incision or sarita and a laceration are one transgression, as they are both performed over the dead. But the difference is that an incision is cut by hand, that is, with one's fingernails, while laceration is cut with a utensil. Apparently, cutting an incision is not accomplished with a utensil. The Gemara answers, Shmuel stated his opinion in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yoshi, who holds that an incision and a laceration are synonymous in every sense. The Gemara relates a Tana taught in Braita before Rabbi Yochanan, one who cuts an incision over a dead person, whether he did so by hand or by a utensil, is liable. Concerning one who cuts an incision for idolatry, if he does so by hand, he is liable. But if he does so with a utensil, he is exempt. Rabbi Yochanan was puzzled by this Braita, but isn't the reverse written with regard to the priest of Baal? Quote, and they lacerated themselves in accordance with their custom, with swords and lances. 1 Kings 18:28, indicating that customarily laceration is with a utensil. Rabbi Yochanan instructed the Tana, rather amend the Braita and say, concerning one who cuts an incision for idolatry, if he does so by hand, he is exempt, but if he does so with utensil, he is liable. The Mishnah teaches, and for rounding the edges of his head, one is liable to receive 2 sets of lashes, one from here, the hair adjacent to one ear, and one from there, the hair adjacent to the other ear. The Gemara relates that when he taught this Mishnah, Rav Sheshet would gesture toward his temple, which is the point between the 2 parts of the head, the front and the back. Similarly, with regard to the halacha in the Mishnah, for marring the edges of his beard, there are 2 edges from here and 2 from there, and 1 from below. Rav Sheshet would gesture toward the point between the parts of the beard. The Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Eliezer says, if he removed the hair on all the edges of his head in one action, he is liable to receive only 1 set of lashes. The Gemara clarifies, he maintains that the prohibition of marring the edges of the beard is a single prohibition, and therefore one is not liable for marring each edge. The Mishnah teaches one is liable for marring the edges of his beard only if he removes the hair with a razor. The sages taught a halakhic midrash. The verse states, and the edge of their beard they shall not shave. Leviticus 21, verse 5. One might have thought that for any manner of shaving, even if he shaved the beard with scissors, he would be liable. Therefore, the verse states, you may not mar the edge of your beard. Leviticus 19:27, indicating that one is liable only for shaving that destroys the hair from the root, which is not the case with scissors. If the verse had stated only you may not mar, one might have thought that even if he removed the hair with tweezers or with a plane, he would be liable to receive lashes, as they destroyed the hair from its roots. Therefore, the verse states, they shall not shave, indicating that only hair removal by means of shaving is prohibited, and that is not accomplished with a tweezers and a plane. How so? Based on these 2 verses, for what form of hair removal is one liable? One is liable only for shaving that involves marring. You must say that this is shaving with a razor. The Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Eliezer says even if he removed the hair with tweezers or with a plane, he would be liable to receive lashes. The Gemara objects. Whichever way you look at it, it is difficult. If he derives the halacha by means of a verbal analogy that he received from his teachers between the halachot of shaving written with regard to priests, Leviticus 21, verse 5, in the halachot of Marin, written with regard to non-priests in Leviticus 19:27, let Rabbi Eliezer require shaving with a razor in order to render him liable, as did the rabbis, the majority. If he does not derive the halacha by means of a verbal analogy, he should also not exempt one who removes the hair with scissors, as that should be included in the category of shaving. The Gemara answers, actually he derives the halacha by means of a verbal analogy, and he holds that these two, the tweezers and the plane, accomplish shaving. His dispute with the rabbis does not relate to the derivation of the halacha, rather it is a dispute with regard to the definition of shaving. The Mishnah, back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, one who imprints a tattoo by inserting a dye into recesses carved in the skin is also liable to receive lashes. If one imprinted on the skin with a dye but did not carve the skin, or if one carved the skin but did not imprint the tattoo by adding a dye, he is not liable. He is not liable until he imprints and carves the skin with ink or with kahol, or with any substance that marks. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Shimon, he is liable only if he writes the name there, as it is stated in a tattoo inscription you shall not place upon you. I am the Lord. Leviticus 19:28. Okay, so back to the Gemara. The Gemara says, Rav Acha, son of Rava, said to Rav Ashi, is Rabbi Shimon saying that one is liable only if he actually inscribes the words, I am the Lord, in his skin? Rav Ashi said to him, no, he is saying, as Bar Kapara teaches, one is liable only if he inscribes a name of an object of idol worship, as it is stated in a tattoo inscription, you should not place upon you, I am Hashem, which means, do not place an idolatrous name on your skin, as I am the Lord and no one else. Rav Malkiah says that Rav Ada bar Ahava says it is prohibited for a person to place burnt ashes on his wound to promote healing because it looks like a tattoo. Since few statements were attributed to Rav Malkiah, and there was another sage named Rav Malkiah who also cited statements in the name of Rav Ada bar Ahava, the Gemara provides a mnemonic for these halachot. Rav Nachman, son of Rav Ika, says the halachot of skewer maidservants' follicles were stated by Rav Malkiah. The halachot of forelock, burnt ashes, and cheese were stated by Rav Malkiah. So Rav Papa says the distinction between a different one, those statements that relate to a Mishnah or a Braita were stated by Rav Malkiah. Independent halachot were taught by Rav Malkiah. And your mnemonic to remember that distinction is the Mishnah is queen, Malketa, indicating the connection between Rav Malkiah and the Mishnah. So the Gemara asks, what is the principal difference between the criterion of Rav Nachman and Rav Papa in this regard? The Gemara answers, the practical difference between them is with regard to halacha of maidservants, which appears in the Mishnah. According to Rav Papa, this halacha was stated by Rav Malkiah, not Rav Malkiah. The Gemara addresses the matter of placing burnt ashes on a wound. The Gemara relates, Rav Bavli bar Abaya was fatuous and did not place ashes even on the wound of bloodletting, as that too appears like a tattoo. Okay. Rav Ashi says, any place where there is a wound, his wound proves about himself, that the person's intent when he covers it with ashes is to promote healing, and it is not a tattoo. Back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, a Nazirite who is drinking wine all day is liable to receive only one set of lashes. If the onlookers said to him, do not drink, forewarning him several times, and he drinks after each forewarning, he is liable to receive lashes for each and every drink. if the Nazirite was rendering himself impure through exposure to corpses all day, he is liable to receive only one set of lashes. If they said to him, do not render yourself impure, do not render yourself impure, and he renders himself impure after each forewarning, he is liable for each and every incident. If the Nazirite was shaving his hair all day, he is liable to receive only one set of lashes. If they said to him, do not shave, and after each forewarning he shaves, he is liable for each and every time he shaves. If a person was wearing a garment consisting of diverse kinds of wool and linen all day, he is liable to receive only one set of lashes. If they said to him, do not wear it, and for each and every time that he dons the garment, he is liable for each and every time that he dons the garment, the garment. Apropos the case where one receives several sets of lashes for performing a single action, the Mishnah continues, there is one who plows a single furrow and is liable to receive lashes for violating 8 prohibitions. If so, for plowing with an ox and a donkey in violation of the prohibition, quote, you shall not plow with an ox and a donkey together, Deuteronomy 22:10. And they are consecrated, and therefore he is guilty of misuse. Of consecrated property, and he is plowing diverse kinds in a vineyard. And it is a sabbatical year, during which it is a sabbatical year, when it is prohibited to work the land, and it is on a festival when plowing is prohibited, and he is both a priest and a Nazirite, and is performing the plowing in a place of impurity imparted by a corpse, which is prohibited for both a priest and a Nazirite. So Hananiah ben Hakinai says, if he was wearing a garment consisting of diverse kinds of wool and linen while plowing, he is also flogged for violating that prohibition. The sages said to him, that is not a prohibition of the same category as the officers, as it is not connected to the act of plowing. So Hananiah ben Hakinai said to them, according to that criterion, the fact that he is a Nazirite is also not in the same category, as a Nazirite and a priest are not flogged for plowing, rather they are flogged for contracting impurity imparted by a corpse. So Rav Bavli says that Rabbi Yoshi says that when the Mishnah teaches with regard to wearing a garment of diverse kinds of wool and linen, and he removes it and dons it after each forewarning, doesn't mean that one is liable for each forewarning, only if he actually removes and dons it, or perhaps one is liable even if he inserts and removes his arm from the sleeve of his garment. Perhaps this is also considered removing and donning the garment. There we go. The Gemara relates, Rab Acha, son of Rab Ika, gestured. One is liable only for actually inserting his body in the garment entirely and then removing it. Rab Ashi says the reference in the Mishnah is not to actually removing and donning the garment. Rather, even if he only waited an interval equivalent to the period required to remove and to don the garment, he is liable to receive lashes for each and every forewarning. The Mishnah teaches there is one who plows a single furrow and is liable to receive lashes for violating 8 prohibitions. Rabbi Yannai says that when the sages sat in a group, their opinions were counted and they concluded. One who covers seeds of diverse kinds with dirt is flogged for sowing diverse kinds. Rabbi Yochanan said to them, isn't this the halacha of our Mishnah? There is one who plows a single furrow, and is liable to receive lashes for violating 8 prohibitions. So including for plowing with an ox and a donkey and they're consecrated, and he is plowing diverse kinds in a vineyard. With regard to this person who plows, who is liable to receive lashes due to violating the prohibition of diverse kinds, how can you find their circumstances? Plowing a field is unrelated to sowing diverse kinds. Is it not a case where one covers the needs with dirt in the course of his plowing as he proceeds, indicating that one who covers the seeds of diverse kinds is flogged? Rabbi Yannai said to him, "You are correct, but if I had not lifted the earthenware shard for you, would you have found the gem beneath it? It was only after I told you the halacha that you succeeded in finding a source in the Mishnah." Rather, Reish Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan, "If it was not for the fact that a great man, Rabbi Yannai, praised your statement, I would say that there is no proof from the Mishnah, as it is possible to say whose opinion is expressed in the Mishnah. Is it that of Rabbi Akiva, who says one who maintains diverse kinds by performing actions essential for their execution is flogged? Therefore, one who plows and covers seeds of diverse kinds is liable to receive lashes as he facilitates the existence of the diverse kinds, not because in covering the seeds it is as though he sowed them." The Gemara asks, what is the aforementioned statement of Rabbi Akiva? As it is taught in a Braita, one who weeds and one who covers the seeds of diverse kinds with dirt is flogged, as he performed an action that promotes the growth of the diverse kinds, which is tantamount to sowing. So Rabbi Akiva says, even one who maintains diverse kinds violates the prohibition. The Gemara asks, what is the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Akiva? As it is taught in a Braita, that it is written, quote, "Your field you shall not sow with diverse kinds," Leviticus 19:19. "I have derived only that sowing diverse kinds is prohibited. From where do I derive that maintaining diverse kinds, which does not involve any positive action, is also prohibited? It is as the verse states, quote, "Your animals you shall not breed with different species," or kilamim. "Your field shall not grow with diverse kinds," so kilayim. So Leviticus 19:19, which is interpreted as though it is written diverse kinds, or kilayim, in your field. Diverse kinds in your field you shall not sow, indicating that one may not allow diverse kinds to remain in his field. Ulai said to Rav Nachman, "And let him be flogged also for violating the prohibition of sowing on a festival." Rav Nachman said to him, "Indeed, lashes for that prohibition could have been included in the Mishnah. The Tana taught certain prohibitions and omitted other prohibitions." Ulai said to Rav Nachman, "And let him be flogged also for violating the prohibition of sowing on a festival." So Rav Nachman said to him, "Indeed, lashes for that prohibition could have been included in the Mishnah. The Tana taught certain prohibitions and omitted other prohibitions." Ulai said to him, "The Tana taught and specifically enumerated 8 sets of lashes. And you say that he taught some and omitted some." Rava says, the reason that sowing on a festival was omitted is that there is a division of labors on Shabbat, but there is no division of labors on a festival. On Shabbat, one who unwittingly performs several prohibited labors during one lapse of awareness is liable to bring one sin offering for each labor that he performed. So on a festival, if one performed several prohibited labors, he is liable to receive only one set of lashes, as there is one prohibition against performing labor on a festival. Since the Mishnah listed plowing on the festival, it does not also list sowing on the festival. Ulai said to him, "That Ada is so. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Ulai said to him, that, or Ada, is so. Okay, there we go. Abaye raised an objection to the opinion of Rava, and there is no division of labors on a festival. But didn't we learn in a Braita, one who cooks a sciatic nerve in milk on a festival and eats it is flogged with 5 sets of lashes? He is flogged. So how so? He is flogged for violating the prohibition of eating a sciatic nerve, Genesis 32:33. And he is flogged for violating the prohibition of cooking on a festival, not for the purpose of the festival, as he is prohibited from eating it. And he is flogged for violating the prohibition of cooking a sciatic nerve, which is meat, in milk. Wait a second. Okay, backing up. He is flogged for violating the prohibition of eating a sciatic nerve, and he is flogged for violating the prohibition of cooking on a festival and not for the purpose of the festival, as he is prohibited from eating it. And he is flogged for violating the prohibition of cooking a sciatic nerve, which is meat, in milk. There we go. Okay, and he is flogged for violating the prohibition of eating meat cooked in milk, and he is flogged.